More than that, I am a volunteer, just like every last one of you who are here and being recognized for your time, your talent, and your treasure. And we cannot thank you enough for everything you've done for our councilman and Councilman Conwell and his wife Yvonne, Beverly Bright Lloyd, who has been our champion and the leader here at this office as we've done a campaign for Harris Walls. How many days do we have? I can't hear you. 10 days. 10 days to make it happen. And I'm betting that in 10 days we're going to hear the good news, and it's all going to happen in 10 days. And I'm prayerful on that, and I'm hoping all of you are prayerful on it also. I wanted to start with an opening prayer, and I'm going to ask our Reverend Rhonda Lawrence to please come forward and start with our prayers for us.
Prayer.
All right. If we can bow in prayer, let us pray.
Yeah.
Lord God, we look to you, the author and finisher of our faith. We are mindful of your word that teaches there were leaders in the land that did not follow in your ways.
Yeah.
They did evil. We pray discernment to see evil, recognize it for what it is, and reject it. This election season of choice, to choose by voting a leader of this government, we pray wisdom and leadership, a heart to serve people, and a humility in spirit to know that you, O God, are supreme, and to give guidance, wisdom, and discernment to your people. We thank you, God, for the time spent for all gathered here today, volunteers of this campaign, who have put hands and feet to the plow, voices to speak, and get out the vote among the masses, putting campaign buttons, yard signs,
Phone calls.
in the hands of voters, yes, speaking and informing voters on early voting, mail-in ballots, registering voters, canvassers of the community, and the love of those who fed us a meal. Entrepreneurs who for a nominal fee helped us express our passion for our presidential candidate in attire and keepsakes. Organizers, leaders, and runners who assisted in getting needs from point A to point B. God bless them all for their demonstrated desire of service to support a trusted, proven leader of the people. So we pray your power, oh God, within Kamala Harris to be the next number 47 president of the United States. Abide and flourish for the good of the people and the nation. So may it be. Hallelujah. And amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Lawrence. That's powerful, and I know it's going to help us all think through the day and the rest of this weekend. We have an opportunity to get a welcome from our honorable councilman, Kevin Conwell. Councilman?
Testing.
Thank you very, very much. Let's go. I want to thank everyone for spending their time coming up here and walking in the neighborhood, or even when I stop by from work and I see people making phone calls. It's appreciative. You know what? I looked at the numbers the other day, because that's what means more to me is numbers. And the numbers here, we're at least number 4 in the city for pushing out the vote. What we got to do now, and I think everyone, is get them to return their ballots. So I wrote a letter earlier today to the residents, so a dear letter for them to return their ballots. But let me say this, it came from you guys. It's your work. It's your work command. You know, the numbers, I've never seen them this high in the presidential election going down to the Board of Elections. It's from those phone calls. It's from you guys walking in the neighborhood. As there with the numbers. So I'm happy. I want to thank you. We got to make sure, as we're doing right now, that Kamala Harris wins. Also, that Sherrod Brown wins also, because she can't do it by herself. She can't do it by herself. We have to push the 3 Supreme Court justices.
Yes,
You know, Lisa Forbes, John Donnelly, and especially Michael Donnelly, and especially Melody Stewart. You know, they're going out of their way to try to hurt that sister and stop her from winning. But we got to make sure she lives right up the street, really, in Bradenton. Do you know her? Yeah. Melody Stewart? She's an artist just like you. She played piano. Just like you played piano. I'm also pushing for issue 49. If you believe in kids, you gotta push for that issue. Issue 49 is very, very important. And you know where I'm at when I mentioned Melody Stewart. The arts levy is important as well. That arts levy is very, very important. You know, because the majority of the arts really came from Cleveland. And that's the reason why we had a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we have to push that. And
that's 55.
Yeah.
55.
Right.
Issue 55, right. Right. And then the other levy, issue 1. We're going to do what with issue 1? We're going to go yes on issue 1. Yes on issue 1. We're pushing that. After, I think it's the 30th, early voting will stop. Then we have to get out there and we shift to another level.
Amen.
Get out there and walk the streets, have people go to the polls, and ask people to really rise to the polls. So when you campaign it, different levels and different shifting end up happening. So we got to get to the polls after the 30th. But right now, Tuesday, anyone can join us. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. We're walking, and we're walking like we're talking. All right, thank you very, very much. You give a spirited speech like I normally do. This is serious. I'm thinking about technical stuff right now. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman, did you want to do anything with the guest recognition, or shall we move right into the program at this point? Okay, so our musicians are going to give us an A and a B selection. And after that, we will move into our program, and we have some wonderful speakers with us here today. We won't hold you long. All of the speeches are between 5 and 10 minutes. And the time being, let's go. The hardest working councilman in show business, Kevin Conwell.
Okay, come on, y'all want to hear some Stevie Wonder? I think that's what we're about to do. Come on, y'all, we can get the hard news, okay?
Thank you, the Kevin Conwell Band. How about another round of applause for all that music, guys? You're rocking it, Kevin. You got a good sound. You got a good group. Thank you very much. For our volunteers today, as I said, all of the volunteers who are here today, including myself as a volunteer, are being celebrated today for the time, talent, and treasure that we've donated and committed to this campaign. Beverly Bright Lloyd, before you go away, please put your hands up and show us who you are. Beverly Bright Lloyd has been wonderful in coordinating these volunteers, and so a round of applause for all the work that she's done in pulling this off, too. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Thank you very much. Okay, now, there are some speakers on our program today. There's nothing lengthy, but they do want to offer some encouragement and recognition for you. And we're going to start with a gentleman who's a co-worker of mine in years past. We both worked at Standard Oil BP America. His name is Al Grimes, and Al is currently the director of the Fatherhood Initiative in Greater Cleveland. So, Al, if you would come forward, thank you very much. Al, if you like, I can distribute that. Shall I?
I brought information on. So I was talking to Beverly, and Bev said, I said, well, Bev, what do you want me to talk about? She said, whatever you're talking about, be okay. But I'm here for two purposes today. Number one, obviously, to talk about what I do on a daily basis, and that's encouraging fathers to be involved in their children's lives. Whether you're living in the same house of your child or not, make sure you're staying involved. And we have 4 goals. We promote the importance of fathers being involved all of the time to the community. You'll hear my radio ads that say, well, our billboards telling fathers, if you are involved, stay involved. If you're not involved, get involved. The second thing that we try to do is at the county is make sure that when fathers come to the county, they're treated in a father-friendly manner. They're treated the same way as a mom, as an equal parent. The third thing we do is we fund programs to help fathers be there for their children, both financially and emotionally. Because we know you can be there all day buying the new Jordans and buying the new Rockaware, but if there's something that the kid's bothering the kid mentally or he's being bullied, something is missing, right? Just the opposite, kids have to eat, right? So we got to be there. You got to have a balance of programs to help them financially and emotionally, and we do. And you'll see all of those programs on the ground. And then finally, we celebrate healthy father-child relationships. And that kind of blends in what we're talking about today. We know that a lot of dads out there are grinding, doing what they need to do every day, but we don't get those recognized. That doesn't make the news. Just like you guys being here today. You guys have volunteered. You're doing the down and dirty work that needs to be done. But you're not going to necessarily get credit for it. You're just doing it because it's the right thing to do, right? So we celebrate. We celebrate good fathers. We celebrate good volunteers. So, the 11 programs that I fund range from job training and placement programs to a boot camp for new dads, to making sure fathers involved in the schools on a regular basis, everything to support their motive. I'll give you an example that you don't even think about. We got a call from a Jewish lawyer last week, and he left a message on our phone saying, Al, I just want to call to tell you that thank you for saving my daughter's life. Okay. So he calls me back. He says, I had a 2-year-old daughter. She was eating a peach last week, and she choked on the peach. She said, I looked at her and she was turning blue. I didn't know what to do. However, I went to your Boot Camp for New Dads program. What they talk about in Boot Camp for New Dads is how to dislodge something, if a child or an infant, because you do it differently as an infant than you do it as an adult. He said, I remember what I learned in that course. And I pat on the back of the upper part of the back a couple times, and the peach the seeds came out. So, you know what I'm saying? There are a million stories I could talk about fathers being engaged. But I just want to share that, to show you the multitude. Number one. Number two, all of our programs are for all fathers. If you just need to be a better dad, want to be a better boy, you can be black, you can be brown, you can be rich, you can be poor. I want you to be involved. We want you to be involved for the benefit, because at the end of the day, it's all about the baby, right? So I want to give you guys a vision of what I'm talking about. Just imagine, right, if your child had an opportunity to look out of the womb before they came into the world, right? They're ready to come out, and what's your name? Richard. They got out, they came out, they ain't been out yet, but they look out there, Richard, right? So now, is that child going to say, hey, Rich? Or is he going to say, no, put me back to the back of the line right now. I'm not quite ready yet. The point I'm trying to make is kids don't have a decision. We have to be the type of parents who are going to be the person that they would say, hey, I'm happy to come out into the world to you. So that's just an example, where we try to be, why we try to be there. So it's a range from job training and placement programs, like I said, getting jobs, but also a free program at the Children's Museum so people can safe and sound visitation, so there can be safe exchanges during the weekend. So everything involved. So with that, I want to say to you guys, as volunteers and stuff, if you know somebody who's not being the parent that they should be, give us a call. We've dealt with everything that you can imagine over the last 20 years. So that's not, once again, volunteering is about, making sure that our community is better. If you have a son or if you have a brother, they're not doing the right thing, right? They're not involved. Hey, reach out and touch them. Tell them, hey, call the Albrights. They deal with 20,000 people a year. Maybe you can be some help. All right. So now I want to pivot because I want to talk about volunteering and how critical it is. How critical it is, especially at this time of the year. Volunteering is, to me, giving back and being something bigger than yourself, right? When we go out and volunteer something, most of the time we're not going out raising no money. We're not going out making no money for ourselves. We're looking at a bigger picture. I can't think of a bigger picture that we've had to look at than we're talking about today. So you can volunteer in a number of different ways. You can volunteer to do something. You can mentor somebody. You can serve on a community board, participate in actions, become a member of an organization, a regular acting member. And guess what? All it takes is a desire, right? That's all it takes. It didn't cost you any money to come down here. Maybe some gas money, right? And nobody helped you give it. So we have to have a desire. One thing I wanted to touch on real quick today is this issue that's been floating around about black men related to this thing. Okay, I'm here to say I'm voting. One reason I'm voting is because if I didn't vote, my mom and dad would reach out of their graves today and say, "Boy, what's wrong with you?" Okay. So there was some controversy about black men and some about Barack was being too harsh and those kind of things. Guess what? If the shoe fits, wear it.
That's right.
What did Barack say? We don't have time for excuses.
No, we don't.
We do not have time for excuses in this election. If your ego gets bruised a little bit, or if you're feeling a little bit shy, hey, get over it. Get over it. It is way, way, way too important in this election that if you don't feel right about it, go vote. Vote. We can't get caught up on that petty stuff about, she's a woman or this and that kind of stuff. If you're talking to people, tell them, you have to do this. And, when we talk about volunteering, the consequences of volunteering are sometimes hard to quantify, right? You can't say, it affected the bottom line, you made some more money or something like that. But the consequences are immeasurable in terms of what you're giving back to the community, the overall goal of the community. And back to this particular election, the consequences of not going out and voting, the consequences of not talking to your neighbor about going out and voting, the consequences of complaining about some things. Guys, I've been around a long time, and I can't think of a time where the difference between the candidates were so stark and plain that one candidate and as a worker for the county, can't come out and be partisan, but we can't say one candidate stands out for us. And you guys, you guys do the research. And that's the other thing, when people talk about not voting and stuff, they haven't done the research. They're just making statements without looking at the research. Do the research, go out and vote. And the most important people involved in this election are you guys. The ones that are out here doing the dirty work, going door to door, encouraging other people to vote. And so I am here to, at the most important thing I'm here to is applaud you for the work that you do, and thank you, and hope that we can continue and be successful over the next 10 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Al. Al, your remarks are well taken, and I would venture to say you're probably preaching to the choir here. But we got it all, and I want you to have this before you walk away. Thank you so very much for being here, Al. Thank you for your comments. And I'm assuming you could use volunteers at the Fatherhood Initiative also, huh?
Absolutely. One of the things we talk about fathers about, one of the principal parts of being a good example is getting outside of yourself and volunteering in addition to what you're doing as a parent. Yes, and your answer, quick answer is yes.
Thank you, Al. Okay, wonderful. Please, Ryan, Mr. Al, please. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. We have an honored guest amongst us, someone that each of us should be familiar with if you've had children in the Glenville area. He is the CEO of the Cleveland Public Schools. This is Dr. Morgan. Hello, Dr. Morgan. Oh, wonderful.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here and great to see the space. I know Councilman Conwell has been telling me about this space, and it is an amazing space. I thank you for all the work you're doing here, the phone banking that is taking place out of here, and also just the gathering. But above all, this is a beacon of light for the community. And so I'm just glad to see it come into fruition and all that you're doing here for the great work. As you just said, I believe this is the choir. People that are here, I already know how important this election is. I'm going to talk about issue 49, but you've been also hearing about all of the other important issues from the top office, the presidential office, to some really key local races. There's a lot at stake here. And when we think about the work we do in our community, the work we do for our children, it truly takes a village. So when I think about all the issues that are on the ballot, they're all important. They're all important for really thinking about how we advance our community forward, how we advance our children forward. So really make sure, I've already voted, and it's a long ballot. It was 6 pages. Make sure you go all the way through the ballot. And like I said, I'm preaching to the choir, but tell your family to go all the way through the ballot and make sure they vote for all the issues because it's really important. But I want to talk about issue 49. This is my second year as the CEO of the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, and I am truly proud of the progress we are making. I'm not sure if you have heard, but for the first time in history, based on the academics of our scholars and the work that our educators are doing, for the first time in history, CMSD is a 3-star rated district and is meeting state standards for the very first time. And we're so proud of our scholars. So when people say our schools are failing, that our kids are not doing well, that our teachers aren't teaching really well, that is not the truth. And we need to spread the truth that we have a 3-star rated district in our school system, the only large urban school district in the state to achieve that rating. So you have that within your mix. And not only are we a 3-star rated school district collectively, we have 4- and 5-star schools within our system. So there are high quality schools that our kids can go to right here in our district. And there's work we have to do. So if we want to continue to think about this progress, if we want to continue to think about how our kids can continue to have high quality schools, we know that there are programs we need to bring to the east side. And there's visioning we're thinking about in terms of what career tech programs can come here. What other advancements can happen in the Glenville neighborhood to bring some of the programs that are happening on the west side to the east side? Yeah, to Glenville High School, you know. So it's probably about time for some upgrades and updates there. But on issue 49, you're getting more progress, more program that we will be able to continue based on that vote. And then also it's a bond issue so that we can improve our buildings. We still have several buildings that are not, that do not have air conditioning. We still have some buildings that are not upgraded. Even some of the newer buildings that were built about 20 years ago on the east side, it's been 20 years and they need upgrades and updates. So all of that you'll be getting with issue 49. The other thing I tell people is even though we've been making progress, there's still disparities within our schools. Right now, only 3 of our 64 elementary schools offer Algebra 1 to 8th grade students. Wow. Yep. Even when we think about football and basketball and some of our core sports, less than 50% of our high schools offer these core sports to students. And not all students are going to want to play sports. Not all students are going to want to play an instrument. But they should have the option. They should have the choice. And so with your vote on issue 49, it will allow us to continue this progress and make sure our district is on a path to financial sustainability. I thank you for your continued support. Above all, as I talk to people, especially when I'm out in the community, we want your votes, but we need, and I say this as a leader, we need your prayers. Continue to cover our kids, continue to cover our leaders. Pray for us to be obedient and great stewards of the work you're doing and the dollars you're doing in our district. And we'll continue working hard on behalf of your kids. So thanks a lot, and I appreciate the work you're doing here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Great.
Dr. Morgan, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you here. I think we have someone else. Okay, hold on. Let me get, I think Principal Holloway is going to, I'm sorry. Yeah. Principal Holloway, did you want comments to our group today?
Yeah, hello neighbors. Yes, I'm Glenville resident, born and raised. Glenville High School is where my parents met. That's why I'm here. So this is the real deal. So here to support you. So glad to see all you. Look at my church family. Oh, neighbors, it's so good to see everybody. I just came to be amongst my neighbors today. Not be a principal today, but thank you. Glad to see you here. Thank you for supporting our community. This is where we live. These are children we love. These are our children. So this is my children. They're here in Cleveland. So we're just grateful for you. We thank you for all of your support. And I'm just happy to be here and happy to serve in our community with our people. Thank you. Oh, how are you? Yeah, I know. You up on the wall. That's right. I see us. We're in the house. Kennedy, that's okay. It's all love. You're across town, but it's all love. Ooh. HBCU.
Thank you, Principal Holloway. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm so glad to have our Cleveland Municipal School people in the house today. Absolutely. I'm wishing you all the best success for the school year. Thank you.
Just real quick while you're here, we were talking about father's involvement. I think everybody might know we had a Father's Walk to School event 2 weeks ago. We had 208 schools and 25,000 fathers walk their kids to school.
Impressive, very impressive. Merle, please come up for a photo opportunity. And we have a keynote speaker with us today. Tony, you want to come up for the photograph too?
Yeah.
Please.
Beverly.
Al?
Beverly on the other end of the phone when I called you, reached out. Oh, yeah.
That's a great shot. Good. Kevin, you're holding our picture up. Beverly. All righty, guys. Thank you for the photo op. Thank you again for Dr. Morgan and Principal Holloway. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another speaker. Our speaker told me that he is just a citizen of Cleveland, but he is more than that. I understand he is a very successful entrepreneur in our community. I'd like to introduce you to Billy Sharp. Billy?
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good to be here. My name is Billy Sharp, and I come to you today just as a citizen. I do have a lot of titles, as they alluded to, but today I come to you as citizen, and to honor you all as volunteers. And I'm definitely preaching to the choir, because most of the people in this room I've volunteered with before in the past. So I'm coming just to tell, hopefully, a volunteer success story and why volunteering is so important. So some years ago, me and my mother, when I was younger, kind of had a bad relationship, so it was tough growing up, and I had to end up going right from high school to work. So I didn't have the ability to go on to college, right? My first job was down at the city of Cleveland. I was the summer lunch program office manager. I thought it was the best job in the world. So since I had to go right to work from school, didn't have the opportunity to go to college, so that meant I didn't have that piece of paper or certification that people look for in order for you to do certain jobs. So I wanted to be a professional person, so I said, well, how am I going to get around this as I'm trying to work and take care of myself? So volunteering was the answer. So volunteered, I started at Straightway Community Church over on St. Clair. They asked me to come in and teach a computer class. This was back when Obama was given the Connect Your Community program. So I came in and I started teaching that class. Then they said, well, we need an executive director of our nonprofit program. So I said, I got a couple skills. I can do something with a computer and put some plans together. So I volunteered and took the position as the head administrator. Mind you, volunteer, not getting paid. So by the time I got done with the Straightway project, we had 2 basketball teams. We had 4 different computer class trainings around the city. So I grew that program from just a summer lunch program to a multifaceted program. Then my church saw that, so they called me over and said, hey, can you volunteer to run our nonprofit program? And this is where I met Jan Ridgway. Jan, could you wave your hand real quick?
Wave your hand, Jane.
So we were, I took that over as the executive director of Mastering Generosity Unlimited. So when I got the program, they were giving away bread on a Tuesday and doing a Toys for Tots program that covered roughly 80 kids. So by the time I left, we had a full-fledged food service program where we worked with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. We, during the pandemic, serviced over 3,000 families. That was amazing, because you remember that time period. That took a lot of what? Volunteers. A lot of volunteers. That was people that would get up in the morning, come and set up that food bank, and didn't get paid a dime. Volunteering is really, really important. So then, I got that program together. I went to work for a person you may remember, State Representative Bill Patman, right? So I got my management bona fides, but I didn't have any political. So Bill Patman asked me to come and work on his campaign and be his campaign manager. Again, volunteer. So I worked on that campaign with Bill Patman. He had me east and west, all over the place. I got the list and I told him, I said, I'm gonna suck up your information like a sponge. Because the kind of things that he taught me, you couldn't pay for. You couldn't pay for it. But it was the power of volunteering. So needless to say, we won that campaign. He got, I want to say, like 90-some% of the vote. It was a very successful campaign. Then I got a phone call. It's a phone call from former mayor Frank Jackson. And the phone call was that they wanted me to come and run the East Side ground game of the 4th Historical Campaign. Now, this one wasn't volunteer.
All right.
This one came with a dollar amount. I said, oh, wait a minute. But the only way I got that dollar amount, and by the way, they hired my whole volunteer team I had with me, because I had a ground team with me at that time. They hired the whole team. But the only way I got that dollar amount is because I volunteered and got the experience. So I tell younger people coming up, volunteering is important because there's levels to this. They come out now, they want to be the president of the national city and barely a high school diploma. You got to volunteer, get out in your community. I believe volunteering is the second duty that you have to do after voting. You should be volunteering. This is your community. This is our city. This is our state. This is our country. And we do it by volunteering. I remember the days when you would meet a candidate, you got passionate about the candidate, and you went and volunteered to get that candidate elected, right? Now, because we are so tied up in the day-to-day, it is really hard to get somebody to come and volunteer on your campaign. Now, I'm going to ask the question, because I'm giving you the importance of volunteer. I want to ask you, though, why do you think volunteering is so low? I got an inkling in my mind. So when I was working for Bill Patman, in order to get people to work the polls, which was extremely important if you understand elections, we had to pay people like $100 a day. Now, if you can't raise money on the campaign, you almost certainly going to lose, because you know all the polling places that you have in a certain district. So volunteering is really important. My question to you, though, is why, if somebody would raise your hand, just throw out something, why do you think volunteering is down? Anybody? Why do you think volunteering is down? People are lazy. People are looking for money. Anybody else? Maybe they don't get asked. That's a good one.
I think it's like this. I think in the start, the vote ain't like it used to be. Okay, I used to work with Fan Louis. And all of a sudden, every time you turn around, you got to pay a test. You got to do this, do this. I never seen nothing like it. And down there, when you call down there, go on in and there, they don't want to hire you. All that. I don't understand what's going on.
Yes, ma'am.
Billy, I think that I would say, as a former, educator, that I think that it's all about your goal, it's all about the mission, it's all about the vision. And what you have to do is have that personal touch. Instead of just saying that you got to get people to buy in to what you are trying to sell. And if you get them to buy in, and by buy in, I mean, you're not putting on them. Ultimately, at the end, you're going to have the final decision, but what you have to do is let the people have a voice. Let them be at the table, and let them make them feel like they are part of something. And if you do that, regardless of the fact that you may think is down, they'll come home to you. And the reason I say that is because I base it on my experience of 40 years. So what I'm saying is that you got to have that personal touch.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm gonna come back. I got Jan right there, and then I'm gonna come. Go ahead.
No, I want to echo what Beverly has said. I also think it's important that we have a passion for the work we do.
Right.
We believe in the work we do. We can't convince volunteers to work if we don't believe. We did a food pantry at Garden Valley. We served 30,000 people a month with 150 volunteers a month coming through there, built 51 programs, and nobody got paid.
Nobody got paid.
Not one person got paid. But we believed in the work. We convinced the community by talking to them that they also must believe in this work, and that our center was not about a handout. It was about a handout. And if we give you that handout, we want you to come and help make that possible. So I think we have to have the passion. Those of us in positions of leadership, those of us who are out here working every day, we have to say to the public, we need you, we want you, we need to listen to you, and we're willing to have you add your hands to the work that we are doing. And Billy, I've been watching you for a while.
Stop it.
We are here together. Yes.
I got Merle, State School Board, Merle Johnson. Go ahead. Then I see Al in the back.
Thanks, Billy. I
Go
have
ahead.
two responses. The first one is, we have to start when kids are young. You know, I taught 40 years in Cleveland, and there were so many kids, and you ask them just to pick up a piece of paper and say, what you gonna pay me?
Right.
You know? So we have to start when kids are young, having them volunteer. If it's just going out and helping to carry groceries or whatever, they have
have to learn that we're here to serve our community. And I don't see that happening a whole. I don't see kids out here shoveling snow and so forth. And they used to be that you could volunteer to do that. Now it's like you got to pay them for everything, and that just you have to raise them when they're young to do that. The other thing is I saw something on Facebook that really meant a lot. It said voting is not a Valentine's Day card, so you don't have to love the candidate to help them out. And as long as the candidate is doing something that you're passionate about or you have the same values, then it's okay to volunteer for that candidate. They may have not have a really good personality, but if what they're doing is something that you feel is good, then it's okay to volunteer. So you don't have to love the candidate to go out and volunteer for them.
The power of volunteer. Al Brian, go
I
ahead.
just want to echo what Earl said, and it's about recognizing the importance of volunteering at a younger age. I mean, you look at the average age in this room right now, and it's significantly older than it used to be. When we were growing up, there were a lot of young people more. That's the same thing as our churches are aging out. Volunteering is aging out. We don't infuse new blood into the system on a regular basis. The good volunteers, the best volunteers will age out. So I agree. I totally agree. Part of the education process is letting them know what the value of volunteering is.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, last one.
That's why I said Facebook. Because I just retired from being in social services. That's why I don't have and I have kids that I've worked with for years, and I have kids and grandkids and great-grandkids. And they have a whole vision of things being so quickly done. The fact that they think that walking door to door doesn't make sense, maybe texting or something digital would be more what would catch their eye. Somewhere we might have to come up a little more creatively to make them buy in. Because they're not going to walk door to door. They're not going to do it. I mean, we can sit here and talk about it for 2 days. But you know your own kids, you know your own grandkids. They see things differently than the way we see it. Their world is different than the world we came up in. So we have to be creative in our ways of asking them to volunteer. We got to get past what we did as volunteers to something that they can buy into and understand and what makes sense to them. Because my grandson was telling me, why are these people walking around knocking on folks' doors? I'm throwing this in the trash. They should have sent me a text. They should have So I'm just saying that's
No, you're right. I would say the days of motivating people by telling them that Dr. King, Marsden, people died for, them days unfortunately are over. We've got to get to the point to meet them where they are. We got to meet them where they are when it comes to volunteering. And for candidates that are running, I hear from the community all the time, you cannot come around and motivate me only at election time.
That's right. That's right.
I should have seen you far before that. So when I was doing the East Side campaign for Frank Jackson, where would I take Frank Jackson to? Wasn't a war club meeting, wasn't a library. I would take him to the food bank. Where those people who don't normally see him, who need him, the food bank, where the least of us are. That's how we motivate. That's why people volunteer. And people from that food bank join Frank Jackson's campaign and volunteer. That's how you do it. I got one more back here.
I just wanted to tell you, your story, particularly how you told it, is very important, and particularly those who would hear it, young people, and again, how you told it, because you said repeatedly, I didn't get paid. I didn't get paid. I didn't get paid. But what was important in how you told it was that you garnered experience all along the way. You continue to garner that experience, and then you got paid. So it is important to tell that kind of story for people who think that, or would use some negative connotations for why you're doing this and you're not getting paid. How you told it and you continue to tell it and what came later on is a very important way to tell that story.
So it's funny she brought that up. I believed in that method so much. Remember I told you I had a ground team with me? So I had a guy that took pictures. You remember, I had a guy that took pictures. I had a guy that was good on the computer. And I had another young lady that was just good at handing out flyers. So they all volunteered. When I got paid, All of them got paid. And they got paid in the specialty that they did. The one guy got hired as the camera person, the other one got hired as the tech person, so on and so forth. They all got paid. But it's the power of, if you cannot go to school and get that piece of paper, you got to get it somehow. They call it life experience. That's the way I got it. So I want to applaud all of you. I want to applaud all of you, because all of you at some point, I'm looking out the room, volunteered at some point. Thank you. Okay. See, there's you. So I want to applaud all of you because you guys are doing the tough work. Lastly, one of my volunteer efforts, I'm with an organization called Black Environment Leaders. On November the 2nd, we're doing a vote mob at the church across the street from the Board of Elections. We're going to have candidates come in to speak to this information session, and then some of us are going to walk across the street afterwards and vote. So I got the flyers if you guys want to take them, I'll leave some here. All right? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Billy.
Thank you so much, Billy. This is the gentleman who told me he was just a citizen. Turns out he's a volunteer extraordinaire. We love you, Billy. Thank you so much for being here. You've been wonderful. And I think the words were wonderful to share with our group. Staying with the theme of education, I have a speaker for us next. Her name is Merle Johnson. And Merle has served the District of 11 here in Cleveland as a member of the Ohio State Board of Education since 2016. She is a retired teacher. She's a graduate from Glenville High School. Raise the roof, please. She received her Bachelor of Arts from Kent State and a Master of Education from Cleveland State. During her years as a teacher, she worked with struggling teachers to improve their skills and has been a strong advocate for our students, teaching them leadership skills, conducted mediation training through Winning Against Violent Environments, that's called WAVE, and also preparing our youth for what's so important to all of us at this point in time, voter registration. Please welcome Ms. Merle Johnson. Let me also put a plug in. She has a weekly radio show in Case Western Reserve University, and it's called It's All About Justice.
Thank you. There's a handout coming. Barbara? Okay. Lynn, can you help Barbara with pass out the flyers? Because everybody needs to have that as a part of my presentation. And she might need some help. Okay, so everybody, this is, I'm going to be talking to you about a very dangerous thing that's coming down the road if folks don't vote the right way. And that's called Project 2025. Raise your hands if you've heard of Project 2025. Okay, when I found out about it, I decided I need to tell people what's going on because it's a very scary document. This is my 33rd presentation on Project 2025. I've talked to 1,701 people all over the city. And so I want to make sure that all of you understand what it is so that you can tell somebody. It's a 900, well, let me just start this way. No matter what you care about, there's something in Project 2025 that will attack your way of life. No matter what you care about, there is something in Project 2025 that will attack your way of life. And if you look down this list, there's going to be something on there that makes you say, what? Oh my God. Because it is a horrible, horrible document. The other thing I want to share with you, let me talk about Stacey Abrams. I call her the Queen of Georgia. She was being interviewed by Joy Reid on Project 2025. And she said 5 things that made me sit up and pay attention. The first thing she said is, Project 2025 will make discrimination legal again. So think about that. Think about a time when discrimination was legal. Whether it was Jim Crow, slavery, Holocaust, but it will make discrimination legal again. She also said, now listen to this, everybody. Our vote in November will determine if we are legally relegated to absolute powerlessness. Absolute powerlessness. She said, voting is self-preservation. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion,
That's all through the 930 pages of Project 2025. They want to end DEI everywhere. Everywhere. And she said DEI is not preference, it's corrective action. And that's exactly what it is. Now, Stacy said when you talk to people about voting, understand that apathy means you don't care. Despair means you don't think your vote makes a difference. So she said, understand that difference when you talk to people. I've heard of something called voter depression. And that means that people feel like their vote is not going to make a difference. So let me just throw a question out to you. When you hear the word democracy, what do you think about? What comes to mind when you hear the word democracy? Everybody has a voice. What else? Freedom. What else? Liberty. More? Vote.
Justice.
That was the one I was waiting on. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I ask you that because imagine all those things gone on November 6th. Imagine that. No freedom, no vote, no voice, nothing. Okay, that's what's going to happen if Project 2025 is implemented. So, it's exactly like Hitler. Speaking of Hitler, where did this come from? If you remember during the debate, when Trump was talking to Kamala Harris, he mentioned a man named Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban is a dictator in Hungary. He became a dictator in 2010. And he used elections. He used elections to get rid of democracy. He ensured perpetual power. Remember Trump said, if you vote in November, you'll never have to vote again. Anybody hear him say that? Okay, that's called perpetual power. That's what Viktor Orban did. He also purged the civil service and replaced it with obedient loyalists. That is in Project 2025, to get rid of all the civil service workers in the country. And 1 in 4 is a veteran. Okay? To get rid of all of them and to hire folks that are going to be loyal only to Trump. Orban also changed the Constitution. I've heard many times Trump wants to just get rid of the Constitution. And he also was complete domination. Now, here's the thing you need to know. Orban has been meeting with the president of the Heritage Foundation. Project 2025 comes from the Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation is a group of right-wing people, right? And they create model legislation. They send it to the Republicans in every state. Now, I'm being nonpartisan, folks, but I'm just giving you facts, okay? They send their model legislation to everybody, every state. And that's why you see the same legislation happening all over the country. Now, Orban has been meeting with the president of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts. Kevin Roberts is the one who said, we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be. Did anybody hear that? Okay, the president of the Heritage Foundation actually said, sounded like a threat to me. Okay? But when I first found out about Project 2025 was on a webinar, July 15th, the lady who was doing it said, don't be afraid. Because more than 80% of people in the country still believe in democracy. So we got to keep that. It's a very comforting thought to me. Now, I want to cover, if you look at that list, what are the things that might have jumped out at you? Well, just tell me, what jumped out at you on the list? Anything that made you just, your jaw drop? Anybody? What, Billy? I always hear that. I always hear all of it. Billy?
Disbanding the Department of Education.
What you said?
Disbanding the Department of Education.
Thank you. That's a perfect segue in what I was going to talk about. Yes, Alan?
You know, the things that they've been saying in private before, they're now coming out in public. And
yes.
This is what we're going to do.
And look how comfortable they are in putting it out there. You know, I heard Kamala Harris say, she said, I don't believe they put this thing in writing. Yeah. Yeah? Yes.
Well, two things caught my attention. It didn't no-fault divorce.
Yep.
It's always been within the states. The federal government has never been involved in divorce.
If Trump becomes president, the federal government will be in everything. Okay? And
deregulation. People don't realize regulatory agencies are going to protect us.
Okay. But when you have a dictator, none of that counts. Okay? So that's what we have to recognize, folks. When you have a dictator, none of that stuff counts. And the no-fault divorce is a very scary thing. But let me just talk about the Department of Education. 2025 is divided into chapters by departments. The first sentence in the education chapter says, federal education policy should be limited and ultimately the Federal Department of Education should be eliminated. So that means no Title I dollars for low-income children, no IDEH dollars for special needs children, no student lending, no Pell Grants, none of that. Okay? And we're talking about $16 billion. Now, they also want to eliminate Head Start. They want to eliminate the universal free lunch program. And I don't know how many of you have been in schools on a Friday when teachers are packing up food for the kids to take home for the weekend, but they don't have anything. They want to eliminate public broadcasting. But here's the other thing. They want to allow the teaching of Christian, and when I say Christian, I mean their kind of Christianity, which is Christian nationalism, which literally, when you look at it, is really a religion of hate. And the Christianity that I'm a member of talks about love. But they want to allow Christian religious beliefs. There's a program called LifeWise. Anybody heard of that? No, not that one. They take children out of school in the middle of the school day to take them off campus for their religious teachings. That's going on right now. Ohio is the epicenter of it. But what you really need to know is it is going through the legislature right now. House Bill 445, they want to make it possible to require school districts to accept programs like LifeWise to come in and take children out in the middle of the day to go off campus for religious teachings. So that is going through our Ohio legislature right now. So moving quickly, it'll also end Title IX, which ends discrimination based on sex. And in April, there were a number of other requirements added, sexual stereotypes and so forth. No more Title IX enforcement. It ends federal funds for schools that teach about race and racism and gender and sexuality. And here's a sentence that I want you to hear. Listen to this, everybody. This is on page 102, 103 in the document. It mandates that all students in schools receiving federal funding must complete the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, a military entrance exam, in order to improve military recruiters' access to students. So they want to get rid of kids ready for the draft. But here's the thing. Hold on a second. I don't have much time. I'm trying to speed through this. But I'll take the questions at the end. But I just want to get through this real quick. Here's what you need to know. It says receiving federal funding. Private schools don't get federal funding. So the kids in private schools would not have to take that military exam. Now, they want the whole country to be school vouchers. School vouchers take children out of public school. They use our tax dollars to allow children to go to private religious schools. In Ohio, they have spent $993.7 million, close to $1 billion, for families to send their children to private schools and taking the money directly from public schools. But here's the other thing you need to know. The children receiving that money, a lot of them are already in private schools. So, are you trying to make me hurry up? Is that what you could? Yeah. Okay. But I will finish up real quick. It's a 930-page document, so it's real hard to put it into 2 minutes. But these are the things that you really need to know, folks. Okay. What's happening is the vouchers are going to kids who are already in private school. So they're not being used the way they promised. And now tax dollars are being used to build private schools. So they're using the money for that. So the last thing I want to share with you real quick, it also deals with voting rights. It eliminates child labor. It eliminates weather predictions. Because, Trump doesn't believe in science. So they would no longer, the NOAA, no weather predictions, less FEMA money. And the last thing, married families will count more than single mothers. Okay, you need to know that. So if you're trying to get some resources, if you're married, you'll be okay. If you're a single mom, you will not. So that's a preview, that's a mini version of Project 2025, but it's just something that all of us need to know about and to tell your friends, this is coming if they don't support the person that they should support. There's some really, really good websites where you can get more information.
One of them is Red, Wine, and Blue. Another one is Democracy Forward. And the AFL-CIO also has a really good toolkit. All of them have summarized it beautifully. And so Red, Wine, and Blue, W-I-N-E, Democracy Forward, and the AFL-CIO, they all have, and the NAACP, the National NAACP also has a real good toolkit on how this will affect black people. So it's really important.
Merle is my sorority sister, Merle.